if you'll be honest, there are certain things in your life right now and areas of your life. And I don't know if you're going to look at me with that really confused look like you do sometimes, where you pretend like everything in your life is working and everything in your life is straight and organized and together. I don't know if you're going to do that to me this on this particular sermon, or if you're going to be honest with me. There are some areas of your life where you are blocked. There are some areas in your life where you are running your head up against the same habit, the same wall, the same way of doing it over and over again. And even if you experience short-term victory, it seems to be just a precursor to a deeper point of disappointment when you fall back into the same thing again. So y'all are gonna do like that today, that real confused thing. Okay, it's okay. I have areas in my life where at certain times before I have been blocked. And that's exactly the scene here, right? They're trying to bring this man to Jesus, and they are blocked outside the door. Now here I should differentiate. What the Bible says here is really important, because this is a specific word. This is not just a generic Bible sermon on you can do it, you can make it, chin up. This is not a go get 'em tiger kind of sermon. This is a custom tailored message to a certain type of block, because in verse 18, put that back up there for me. It says that some men came, 4 of them, carrying a paralyzed man on a mat and tried to take him into the house to lay him before Jesus. They did what? They came, back all the way up. They came carrying a paralyzed man and tried. They tried. There have been times in my life where I said I tried, but I only kind of tried. There have been certain things certain tasks, certain responsibilities, certain goals that I kind of tried at. And you know exactly the kind I'm talking about. I tried to call them. You didn't want them to pick up. So when they didn't pick up, it was a sigh of relief. Just enough to say when your boss asked, I tried. Or it's me as a teenager, I only had 1 or 2 chores. My parents didn't make me work very hard around the house, but I did need to cut the grass sometimes. And then guess what? I tried to cut the grass, Dad, but there was no gas in the lawnmower. And that man showed me. He showed me the difference between trying and trimming the grass. You like that? Because he showed me, this is where the gas is. This is how you put it in. Until you put the gas that I bought in the first place in the lawnmower that you claim is empty, don't say I tried, but I was only 12. Now I'm much more responsible. I'm much better at this. And this passage of scripture is not about a teenager who said, well, I tried to do the test, but I left my book at the thing, and the dog and the thing, and the dog ate my dog ate my mom, so I couldn't do my homework. These men, I just need to give you this. These men carried another grown man, who knows how many miles, to try to get him to Jesus. So this is not, they said, oh yeah, I'll pray for you about that problem in your life, knowing good and well, you're not gonna pray. You're just trying to wrap up the conversation. You just don't wanna give them any money. You just don't wanna help them get in rehab. You just say, I'll pray for you. This is not that type of situation. And I wanna point that out because there are some times in your life where you haven't really tried. Reading the first chapter of the book about the diet is not trying the diet. Coming to church 3 times in 12 months is not really trying to build your relationship with God. That's a frequent attender right there. She's got the membership card. And I'm not saying it to shame you, because I'm telling you, there are areas in my life where I say I tried. Did I? Where I say I listened. Did I? I have this friend who coaches professional athletes, CEOs. He does all this mental coaching. And he says, when he hears somebody say this phrase, he loves it because he sets them up. They say, I want to do it. I've tried everything. And when they say that, he goes, oh, everything? You've tried everything? Okay, let me see the list. And they go, what list? And he goes, well, I mean, if you tried everything, certainly you kept a spreadsheet of everything you tried. Because if you really tried everything, then you had to list everything so you could evaluate what worked and what didn't. So if you tried everything, bring me the list. Because if you tried everything, then you had to combine certain things in certain sequences to say, I tried everything. So you tried this and that didn't work. So then you tried this, then that. So then you tried this and that. Let me see the list where you tried everything. And he said, at this point, they crumble. Okay, not everything. Not everything. There are some things in our lives where we have a desire. I like to call it a cycle. It's a cycle where I get inspired, I try, I get tired, and now, well, I tried. Let me walk you back through that real slow. Y'all can do this on Digging Deeper, and y'all can break this down. I'm inspired, I'm trying, I'm tired, I tried. I talked to a lady, I said, you should come to church. She said, oh, I tried. I said, you tried? She said, yeah, I came. They made me go in a different room. It was like the room was full. I said, what time did you get there? She said, 9:43. I said, you know, it starts at 9:30. So, you know, if you had tried like even 10 minutes earlier, you probably could have snuck in the top. But she tried. Do you have an area of your life right now where you have said, I tried, or you're telling yourself, I tried everything to get through to my kid. I tried everything to make that better. I tried everything. Everything? Show me the list. And yet, for those of you who are like, God, I should have skipped today. He's making me feel terrible. The message that I came to bring you today is not that I don't think you're actually trying, or that you just need to try harder. Because that's where we take this a lot of times, right? Like, all right, I'm gonna work out 8 days a week, 9 days a week. With God, there's always a way. By faith, I will find it. I'll make another day in the week. I'll put another star in the sky. I'll do another one. Y'all, I don't think you can try much harder than these men tried. They carried a grown man all the way to see this wonder-working rebel priest named Jesus, who was healing people and teaching the kingdom and laying down the authority of the word of God in an incarnate way that amazed everybody that heard him. And they bring this man on a mat, and he can't do anything for himself. And there were only 4 of them. And I don't care what you bench, 4 people carrying one grown man who can't move for any distance counts as trying. So they tried to get in. And the Bible says something very interesting. It says because of the crowd, they couldn't find a way. And so I don't think this is a passage talking about how more effort will bring greater results. And I think a lot of times the reason we go from inspired to trying to tired to tried is because we try harder, 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 harder. And what happens as you try harder and harder and harder and harder? It gets heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. And some of you are here today and you're going, well, I did try, or I would try, but every time I try to try, I can't even try to try because I trip on the things that I tried for in the past, and I'm trying now, but it's what happened then that makes me unable to try. You don't see the injuries that I've been through to know that I'm trying. Say trying. Look, I'm not preaching to a person today who's not trying, because you chose to bring your heart into an environment where you could hear the word of God. Even if you did skip church and watch it later, sometime you're hearing this because you are trying. They tried to bring him to Jesus. They tried honestly. They tried valiantly. I didn't see anybody else in the passage carrying a paralyzed man. I didn't see the Pharisees carrying anybody on a mat. I didn't see the religious teachers trying to help anybody. You know, the truth of it is you haven't really struggled. You haven't really experienced struggle until you stepped in to try to bring somebody else with you along the journey. So they tried. And I want to do something right now that may seem sacrilegious, but I need to do it to get the point across, because there's somebody I'm preaching to you and you are blocked, but you've tried. You've been blocked, but you have tried. It's very different than, I just didn't even try it. I just didn't even do it. It's very different. It's a different kind of tired when you've really tried. That's why I like to preach to youth sometimes, because they haven't even really tried yet. They haven't even got tired of themselves yet. They're not even sick of themselves yet. You know, I don't even have to do half the work I have to do with you when I preach to you. All y'all over 30 people, over 40 people, over 50 people. I'm tired of this. I tried everything you're up there talking about. I tried all of that. Now look, they tried, and verse 18 says that they couldn't get in, but they tried to take him into the house to lay him before Jesus. And here's what I want to show you in verse 19, is what they did and what they could have done. When they could not find a way to do this, what? To bring this man to Jesus. Because of the crowd, they went up on the roof and lowered him on his mat through the tiles into the middle of the crowd right in front of Jesus. Now, I love that. What I love about it, though, is it says when they could not find a way to do this, what they originally intended to do, because of the crowd, and then there's a comma, it doesn't say that they started a fight in the parking lot so their friend could get in. I love that. Because do something for me real quick. This might disturb you, but I want y'all to take away the second part of that verse. So when they could not find a way to do this because of the crowd, comma, now take away the rest. What would you do next in that situation? What are you doing in that situation? Because if we make a few substitutions here, we're not talking about 4 men that lived 2,000 years ago anymore. We're talking about you. When they could not find a way because of the crowd, comma, they looked at each other and said, well, we tried, and turned around and went home. This story would probably not be in the Bible if the men brought the man all the way to Jesus, encountered resistance at the door, tried, begged, bribed, I'll do anything. Don't you see this man needs help? Now see, you're wondering the same thing I wondered. Why wouldn't somebody else give him their spot? But paralyzed people were not given special access in this time. There were no handicap spots in this time for people in this condition. In fact, it was often seen as a sign of God's divine displeasure on your life if you had something physically wrong. So they assumed there's something that you are not doing right that has caused your legs to not be able to work. So they would actually ostracize you. Rather than including you, they would exclude you. So the man on the mat didn't get a special spot for having no ability to walk. In fact, he had more obstacles. The one who needed it the most had the least access to it. And might I just ask a question, church? Why do we make it so hard for people to come to God sometimes? Why do we put up so many restrictions for people to come into the presence of God? Why do we judge others for struggling with stuff that if we were in a situation, we might have the same struggle. Or truth be told, why do we judge people for stuff that we haven't been even free from ourselves for 5 years? Why do we judge people for stuff that if they showed everything we thought about on a movie screen, we would be embarrassed about it too? So I'm glad these men didn't start a fight. Because if they start a fight, they go to prison and their friend doesn't have a ride home. How do you deal with it? Put the half verse up again, because I want you to think about how you're going to finish this sentence in your life right now. When they could not find a way because of the crowd. When they could not find a way because of the debt. When they could not find a way because of the genetics. When they could not find a way because of the addiction. When they could not find a way because of the broken heart. When they could not find a way because of the divorce. When they could not find a way because of the betrayal. When they could not find a way because of their boss. Oh, I'm coming all through this crowd. I'm coming all through this crowd. I'm coming all through this crowd until I find that place where you've been blocked. Because I came with a word from God today. There's always a way. With God. Or I need somebody to come along and support me or back me or finance me, or I need this perfect church, or we get all this list of what we think we need for God to do it, right? And so we're holding on to that. Don't you think that a lot of what keeps us from moving forward is what we won't let go of? Mm-hmm. Our idea of how it should be, our idea of the way we thought God was going to make. I thought I'd be married and I'm 25 and I was planning to get married at 22. Well, that's the way I thought God was going to make. So I love what you said, like not only what God did in the past, but what I thought he was supposed to do. Right. And now I can't go forward. So let's have a little therapeutic coaching. I know you're not a psychologist or a nutritionist. You know, I know that you're a coach. So let's coach somebody in faith who won't let go of something that they thought was supposed to happen in order to go forward into the way God is making they can't even see right now.
Yeah, I think too often our vision becomes myopic on what was, and we're operating from here. What we should be operating from is our potential and into our future and the best of who we are. And so I always tell people, never limit your vision for who you can be based on your past stories or your current circumstances. Because every great successful person, there was that part of their story where they were broke, down and out, struggling, and they just didn't choose to live there. They choose to work through it because they believe something good would happen. And so I think the first part is going, where is your vision and where are you operating from? Are you operating from the past time zone or the current struggle time zone? Or are you living into and being the best of who you can be for the future you, which is what your book is about?
Yeah.
And that's really powerful. So where are you operating and where's your vision? And then we also have to set up these rhythms in our life where we choose to release the tension and the disappointment.
I love that. Rhythms where we choose to release our tension and disappointment.
So
what are your rhythms of release? Write that down in the comments. Rhythms of release.
Yeah, because what happens is, inevitably stuff builds up and we get disappointed, we get angry, we get hurt. And if we never release that, it's like a pressure cooker. And one day it will release, and it will release in a pipe burst. It will release in an inappropriate way for people. That's why therapy is so powerful. You go every week, or you talk to a coach. You talk to him every week. It's a place that you go to release your thoughts and your concepts and your frustrations and your plans. But it can't just be releasing. It has to be what I always call, you release the tension of that and you set the intention for what's next. So I'm somebody, I have to do this every hour. I'm easily distracted. I'm so enthusiastic. I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And I know this about myself. So every hour, no matter what's happening, when I'm working at my desk, every hour, a little timer goes off. I have it next to my computer, press it, start, 55 minutes, stops. And I push back, close my eyes, and I just start breathing, and I release the tension in my body. And I just repeat this little mantra to myself: release, 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 release. And I might only do this for 2, 4, 5 minutes. Just release, release, trying to release all thoughts, all feelings, all emotions, and tension in my body. Once I feel like I'm in a good place, open my eyes and I ask, okay, what's my intention for this next hour? And I learned that in helping a lot of people through grief and trauma. You know, sometimes we think our vision has to be this huge new thing. But when you're really struggling, what's the intention for the next hour? You know what? I'm gonna go pick up the kids and I'm gonna share some love with them. That's the intention for the next hour.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna go pick up the kids carrying all that stuff. So I always say, before every significant interaction with somebody, if you can just release the tension. I teach people all the time, if you're the one who goes to work and you come home to your partner or your spouse or the kids, when you pull up to the house, tell you what, put the chair back, close your eyes, do a release meditation for about 5 minutes and say, what's my intention? Oh, my intention is go be a good dad, go be a good mom, go be a good provider, go be a good servant, whatever it is. And these little moments that you're just releasing all this frustration and this tension, because people carry a lot of tension and they get lost in the tension. Unless you release that, you know, you can use the metaphor of releasing baggage, but I don't like that metaphor as much, but it's just releasing the tension and setting an intention. It's a constant recalibration into the future and into your faith. And when you can recalibrate into my future, into my faith, then I can survive this moment now.
What I love about this is how you broke it down and shrunk it. Because sometimes when we talk about letting go of the past, moving forward into the future, which is a lot of what this mindset is about with God, there's always a way, and by faith I will find it. We set that finder so far out in the future. 5 years from now, I want to be here. And sometimes what we really need to release happened 5 minutes ago, not 5 years ago. And I love that you used the word rhythm because I like music so much that I thought, well, that's brilliant because I've thought of letting go of what was as something I do maybe once, like, I let it go, God. How they hurt me, I let it go, God. But when you put it in the term of a rhythm, that's not a rhythm unless I do that,
Right.
that. So letting it go isn't letting it go unless I let it go every time it comes back up.
Yeah, the stuff that your parents did or something that frustrates you, it's gonna come up over and over.
And you
It's
let it go
part of
over and over.
You gotta let it go over and over. So this belief that one day you're, you know, completely spiritually free of all pain and problems and the past, maybe some people have that. But for most people, the difficulties of life happen on a recurring basis. There's a rhythm to that too. And so when it comes up again, oh, you know what? That's my old demons. They're fighting me again. Oh, you know what? That's that old behavior. I used to do that because he taught me to do that or she said that. And so as it comes up again, it's an active release process. You're actively releasing. But here's the thing. If you just release it and you don't set intention for what's next, you'll keep falling prey. It'll keep pulling you back in. You have to set an intention that is higher or part of something that is higher. And that is where I meant by you have to set intention to your future and your faith over and over and over. It's like recalibrating back into Him, back into spirit, because these things often, they're dispiriting. And you got to connect to the spirit again. And so release the dispiriting things, tap back in to the spirited things. And when you teach yourself to do this over and over and over again, you suddenly realize, I got a pretty good mindset.
Yeah, because if our brain is operating off of the neural pathways that have created our thought pattern and our mindset is to think a different way, then we can basically say that seeing the way that God is making is a product of thinking the way God thinks. So we're possibly looking at something right now that would be an opportunity, or you could reconcile, or you could actually have love in your life or support in your life, right? And you're telling yourself you can't. And the reason you're telling yourself that you can't right now is because the way that you are thinking, I like how we call God a waymaker, but there are also God blockers in our life. Like think about if God is the waymaker, there are God blockers. Those are the thoughts. the thoughts that cause us to say, well, if it would have happened 5 years ago, I believe it, but it would have happened by now if it was going to happen. Or things like that don't happen to me. They don't happen for me. They happen for others. Or maybe somebody told you. Like, I remember my dad we both shared about our dads today, and I learned a little bit more about your dad. And I didn't tell you much about my dad. We just realized our dads both went to heaven when we were about the same age, about 32 or 33 years old. Yeah. And, you know, my dad he was a passionate guy. One time somebody was telling me, you'll never be able to go to college. You won't be able to afford it. Mm-hmm. And they were saying, I didn't go to college, and so you're not going to go to college, and you need to make peace with it. It sounds like a weird thing for somebody to tell a kid, right? And it kind of was. I was only like 10 or 11.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even know why they were saying that, but my dad goes, shut your stupid mouth to this other person. And this is not probably recommended parental advice. He said, if I have to kill somebody to get the money to send that boy to college, if he makes good grades and wants to go to college, he'll go to college. And I got a scholarship instead, so I went to college. He didn't have to kill anybody. The story doesn't have a weird ending and that's the day my dad died. The point of it was that he wasn't going to have me limited. We've talked in the previous mindsets, and I want you to go back and watch all of them, because we talked about I'm not stuck unless I stop. We talk about coming from abundance in the mindset, Christ is in me, I'm enough. But now we're moving deeper into this to say, are your thoughts the result of seeds that someone planted and that someone wasn't God? And if they were, can you go back by faith and uproot those through the process? Well, what does that look like? I love Brendan's handles. Release the tension, set the intention. The intention of what? The intention of your future and your faith. With God, there's always a way. By faith, I will find it. And maybe that's why you haven't found it yet, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're not looking by faith.
Right.
You're looking by sight. And so I don't see it, and I've never seen it, and I've never been it, and I've never done it. But this mindset is by faith, I will find it. So how does faith open up your eyes to possibilities that were there all along? And how do you tap into it practically? Because a lot of people will say, so I'm just supposed to, what? Lift my hands? I'm just supposed to quote a Bible verse? Well, yeah, all that's good.
Yeah.
But there's an actual way to activate faith too that's practical.
Yeah, I think you begin, if you are looking backwards, look backwards and notice that all the big moves in your life and all the big random things that look so random, they happened when you were in motion. You were in motion and serendipity happened. You were in motion and you met this person who gave you this lesson that helped open this door later. It's like Steve Jobs said, you never connect the dots until you look backwards. And I think that when you do look backwards, you start to realizing, oh, wait, wow, God's grace is right there. I never thought about that. God opened the door right there. I didn't know that. And what happens is you start to realize that all these things have already opened for you, but they always happen when you're in motion. You made a decision, you went for it, you tried something, and some big lesson or a failure or a pivotal point happened, but they always happen when you're in motion. And so when you trust in that, you say, interesting, doors, looking backwards, I can see doors open when I was in motion. Let me get in motion now because I want new doors to open. I want new doors to open for me, so I have to be in motion. I have this belief, I have this desire, I have this dream, move.
Yeah.
And you write so eloquently about this in the book. It's like, move. Because when you move, the doors are open or you're going to blast through them and discover something. But for the most often, I think that what people discover is, wow, when I get in motion, amazing things start happening.
Yeah.
These random people come into my life.
Yeah.
That's when I met my wife, or that's when I met this business partner, or that's when I got that first sale that led to this sale, and they can start connect that forward again with that trust and that faith. That will happen again. I think coming from that standpoint, it's like it's evidence-based. There's a lot of evidence that great things happen when you're in motion, and a lot of things when you're stopping yourself, fearing yourself, laying on the couch week after week in self-pity. There wasn't none of that happen. Nothing was happening. You were in the 17th bag of Cheetos, nothing happened. But when you got in motion, okay, you got tired of sitting around and you tried something opened. So I think first stepping into that truth.
Even the smallest motion.
Small motion. Get out of the house today.
Yeah.
Get the shower today.
I didn't tell you this
today.
story, but I'll give it to you now. And maybe I've shared it publicly, but I don't think that I have. I feel like I should, though. When it was time for me to write this book, and I felt like you're either going to do this now and write this, because the message was coming alive in me, but I had become pretty discouraged about the writing process. You know, going from the spoken word, which I'm more comfortable with and I have a lot of muscle memory with, to the written word. And the way I would judge it, and I would think, this is not very literary. So everything in me was telling me, you're not an author. You know, back to the identity, Christ is in me, I am enough, arguing for your limitations. All of these mindsets build on each other, right?
Yeah.
Which is really why I want you to share every session and read the book. But the book actually was completely stalled out in my mind. I tried to write another book. And I remember the day that I had a blank afternoon on my calendar, and something told me that today was the day to set the book in motion. And when you said motion, something jumped in me, because I wanted to say this for the person who is like, I know that there's something that God has put out in front of me in my future, but I am completely paralyzed by what I feel. And here's what I did that day. I went in my closet. I put on a suit. I never wear suits, but I put on a suit, and I drove to my office. And I called my literary agent. And I stood there in a suit, not on a Zoom call, a phone call. So why am I wearing a suit? To set it in motion. Uh-huh. It was my way of saying to myself, I mean business. And this wasn't when I was 23, just starting out in ministry. This is recently that I had to do this for myself.
Yes.
To let myself know we mean business. And the series of meetings that were set up on that day, standing there, in a suit that was, by the way, a little too tight because I hadn't put it on in a couple of years. And as the suit squeezed the blood out of me, the faith began to flow. And one of the reasons that the book is here today is because, like I said, instead of sitting and waiting for God to deliver a way or make it obvious, I chose motion. Mm-hmm. And I think set it in motion is a great thing to add to this mindset. It's not just the mindset, but it's setting that mindset in motion, that even the smallest step of putting on a suit, even the smallest step of setting up a call, even the smallest step of flushing it and telling somebody to ask you about that addiction and asking somebody to check in on you. Did you set up the meeting with the therapist that you've been saying you're going to do? Whatever that move is, a lot of times I think the paralysis